I was finally settling in for the night. Just me and my favorite couch when I heard it. A series of sharp knocks on the front door. It was late, way past the time anyone should be visiting. My heart started to race. Who could it be at this hour? I cautiously peered through the peephole, my breath caught in my throat. There stood a man, nervously glancing around. He wore a dark hoodie, hood pulled up, constantly looking over his shoulder as if expecting someone. I couldn't see his face clearly, but something about his stance felt wrong, unsettling. "Hello?" I called out, my voice barely steady. He straightened up, staring directly at the door. A chill crept down my spine. Maybe he was just lost or needed help, but my instincts begged for me to stay put. I took a step back, eyes glued to the peephole. He knocked again, harder this time, almost frantic. "Please, I need help. I was in an accident." I froze. An accident? Why hadn't he called for help? Where were the sirens? The dimly lit living room suddenly felt ominous, every shadow a lurking threat. "I can't let you in," I called back, trying to sound more confident than I felt. "I'll call someone for you." "Just open the door. I swear, I'm not dangerous." His desperation only heightened my unease. The way he shifted from foot to foot. Something was definitely off. I decided to grab my phone and dial 911, whispering the situation to the operator, hoping he couldn't hear me. "Stay inside and lock your doors," she instructed, but her voice was barely audible over the drum of my heartbeat. Then, another knock, louder, more insistent, followed by a shout. "I can see you. Open the door." My breath caught in my throat. I dropped the phone as I realized just how vulnerable I was. The knocks grew more aggressive. I backed toward the kitchen, desperately searching for anything to defend myself with. Suddenly, a crash echoed from the back. My stomach dropped. He wasn't just at the front door, he was already inside. I was sprawled on the couch, trying to relax after a long week. The TV was murmuring in the background, one of those mindless shows that you don't really watch when I heard a knock at the door. It was late. Way too late for any delivery or friendly visitor. I glanced at the clock. 11:45 p.m. I hesitated, telling myself it was probably nothing. Maybe a neighbor had the wrong apartment. But you know how curiosity can be. I couldn't help but peek through the peephole. To my surprise, there was no one there, just a package sitting on my doorstep. I opened the door just a crack, my heart thumping hard against my chest. No one was around, just this package, wrapped in plain brown paper. I glanced around quickly, but the hallway was deserted. It felt strange, almost foreboding, but I had to know what was inside. Closing the door behind me, I brought the package to the living room and set it on the coffee table. As I tore away the wrapping, a chill ran down my spine. Inside was an old wooden box, small and unassuming. But when I lifted the lid, my stomach dropped. There were photos, grainy black and white images of me, taken from various angles around my apartment. I rifled through them, each picture showing me completely oblivious, going about my daily life. There were shots of me cooking, reading on the couch, and even sleeping. Who could have taken these? At the very bottom of the box was a note, scrawled in shaky, unsettling handwriting. "I'm closer than you think." Panic surged through me. Suddenly I heard a noise, a faint shifting outside my window. I rushed to the curtain and peeked out, but all I saw was darkness. My mind tried to piece everything together. What if someone had been watching me all along? Hands trembling, I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. The operator answered, and I could barely get the words out. "I think someone's watching me. I got a package with pictures." Just as I was about to hang up, I heard a loud thud from the back door, followed by unmistakable footsteps. My heart dropped. They were here. I had to hide. I dashed to the nearest closet, praying they wouldn't find me. I was finally home alone, ready to unwind after a long day. The TV flickered, casting a dim light across the room. Then I heard it, a faint scratching from the attic. At first, I brushed it off. Old houses, right? They creak and groan all the time. But this sound persisted, growing louder and more frantic with each passing second. My heart began to race. Just the wind, I reassured myself. But it felt like something more. I glanced at the attic door covered in a thick layer of dust. I hadn't been up there in ages, and the thought of going up there gave me chills. Yet the scratching continued, relentless, as if something, or someone was demanding my attention. I tried to focus on the TV, but my mind kept drifting back to the noise. Maybe it was just a raccoon or a stray cat. That seemed logical, right? Taking a deep breath, I grabbed a flashlight and approached the attic ladder. I hesitated, looking back at the cozy warmth of the living room. What if I found something terrible up there? But I had to know. I climbed the ladder, each step creaking ominously beneath my weight. The scratching grew louder, almost desperate, echoing in the stillness. At the top, I flicked on the flashlight, its beam cutting through the dusty gloom. "Hello?" I called out, my voice trembling. Nothing replied. Only the persistent scratching from the far corner. My heart pounded as I moved deeper into the attic, drawn to the sound. Beneath a tattered blanket, something shifted. The scratching intensified. Curiosity and fear waged war within me as I pulled the blanket aside. There it was, an old trunk, lock, rusted, but intact. The noise was coming from inside. "Who's in there?" I asked, more terrified than curious. The scratching stopped abruptly, replaced by heavy breathing. "Please, let me out," a voice croaked, weak and desperate. I stumbled back, realization crashing over me. Someone was in there, trapped. Every instinct screamed to run, yet I was frozen, eyes locked on the trunk. Just as I turned to flee, the lock clicked ominously, and the trunk creaked open behind me. Terror surged through my veins as I bolted for the ladder, my heart pounding like a drumbeat. I could feel a presence behind me, but I didn't dare look back. I had to escape. Whatever was up there couldn't follow me if I reached the door in time. I was just lounging on the couch, scrolling mindlessly through my phone when I heard it. A sharp crack like glass shattering, echoing from the back of the house. My heart dropped immediately. I paused, listening intently, but all I heard was silence. Trying to convince myself it was nothing, I muttered, "Just the wind," though a nagging unease crept in. Despite myself, I grabbed my flashlight and flicked it on, the beam slicing through the dimness of the room as I slowly made my way toward the source of the noise. Each creak of the floorboards felt like thunder in the stillness. My mind was racing with possibilities. Could it have just been a branch hitting the window? Or worse, what if someone was actually inside? When I reached the back hallway, my gaze landed on the kitchen window. It was shattered, shards of glass glittering on the floor like deadly confetti. "Oh no," I whispered, dread pooling in my stomach. I stepped carefully over the glass, trying not to make a sound, my flashlight beam trembling in my unsteady hand. Inside, everything was chaos. Old belongings, boxes I thought I'd packed away ages ago, were strewn across the floor. A sense of violation washed over me. Who did this? I wondered aloud. my voice barely above a whisper. My mind tried to determine the possibilities. Was it a burglary? I took a cautious step forward, scanning the room. A photo frame lay cracked on the ground, a picture of happier times staring back at me, now a symbol of my shattered peace. I wanted to call the police but felt rooted in place, an instinctual fear keeping me frozen. Just then, I heard a noise, a rustling from the living room. I turned my flashlight in that direction, heart pounding. "Hello?" I called, hoping for a response that would ease my fears. Nothing, just silence, thick and suffocating. With a deep breath, I forced myself to move forward. The flashlight flickered over the mess, revealing overturned chairs and scattered papers. "This is ridiculous," I muttered, panic rising within me. I had to get out of there. Suddenly, a shadow darted past the door frame. "Who's there?" I shouted. The only reply was the sound of my own breathing, quick and shallow. I turned to run back to my phone, but before I could make it, I felt a hand grab my shoulder from behind.